Hey guys, it's Ron from Schmick Photography. Today I just want to talk to you about depth of field. Now, depth of field is a term that we use to describe what distance of a scene is actually in focus. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you a couple of pictures. Just excuse the subject matter, I just took a few snaps just before. Yeah, I'll show you the two differences there between sort of a shallow depth of field and a longer depth of field. And I have a bit of a diagram for you. It's kind of a method of thinking. You can go in depth and find out scientifically how the camera works and everything, but what I like to do is, especially with people that are learning, I like to give them a way of understanding or interpreting what actually happens. I think it's more important that you understand what to do than why it happens that way. The reason that I want to go through depth of field first is because although it's not a technical aspect of the camera or photography itself, it is part of like technique and style. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll look at these pictures now. Okay, so this first one here is with the shallow depth of field. So you can see that the object itself is a bit more in focus and the background is really sort of blurred out. Okay, so this second image has a longer depth of field, so although the background isn't completely in focus, and that has partly to do with the lens I'm using at the moment, but it's a lot more in focus than the previous image. Okay, so it's a lot sharper, so that just means that there's a greater distance, a greater area in the scene that's actually in focus. Okay, so that's those two images. Sorry about the subject matter, I just wanted to quickly do something just to demonstrate what a difference kind of looks like. Okay, so what we're going to look at now is my sort of method of thinking. Okay, the easiest way for you to interpret what actually happens and what depth of field is. Okay, so if you have a look over here, we have you and the camera, obviously, and we have our subject. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to focus on the subject. All right. So the way I like to think of it is that we want this entirety of the lens, so all parts of the lens, to actually be focusing on the object. Okay, so we draw these lines going towards our subject matter. Okay, and continue them out the other side. All right. Now these two lines here represent focus. Okay, so anything that is inside these two lines is in focus. All right. So if we see with this particular situation where we are, we've got from this point to this point are all in focus. Okay, now let's say we were to physically shift ourselves closer to the subject. Alright, we move a bit closer here, okay, and we redraw those lines focusing from the lens to the subject matter, and what happens is now our depth of field is a lot shorter, so we're actually only just going from here to here. Okay, so that's one of the ways that we can affect depth of field. Okay, but that's just the way one of the ways I want you to sort of think about it. Okay, it's the simplest way is through movement. So the closer you are to an object, the sharper the angle of you focusing on your subject is. Okay, when you go further away, you can get a much longer depth of field. This is how I like to think about it anyway. It makes it a little bit easier than sort of trying to get down on the technical side of how it all works. But yeah, so I hope that makes a bit of sense. Have a bit of a play around with your camera. You know, get your lens and everything together. Don't have to change your zoom or anything. Just take a picture of something and then physically move in really close to it and take a picture with the same settings and everything and see what happens. Obviously, your subject's going to be a lot larger, but what you'll find is that your background drastically changes. Okay, so have a play with that, and that might help you get the hang of it. Yeah, like I said, it doesn't tell you how it works, but it gives you a way to think about it and something to play with to learn when to use it and how to use it. Yeah, so I hope that made sense. I hope that wasn't too short or too difficult. I'll be doing some more tutorials soon on aperture, f-stop, and also things like using different lenses, which all affect your depth of field. So I've got this out of the way just so that you can have a bit of an understanding before we get to that, so I don't start confusing you with terms and things like that. So yeah, hopefully that was good. Yeah, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned.